So a quick note on first impressions, graphically it's beautiful. We've seen the bulk of it all in gameplay leaks, but the augmented reality camera is incredibly impressive and really gives the game character. So to start out with, we wanted to see for ourselves a broad part of the spectrum of locational variants. We went from exploring in the Botanic Gardens to some more densely populated metropolitan areas, and to be honest, it was pretty disappointing. While there were some areas with significantly more type variation, everywhere we went we were finding Meowths, Rattatas, and Magnemites. Some spots like the gardens did have more Caterpies and Weedles, and we noticed a few unique nesting spots like a footbridge with Murks and the Adelaide Oval with spawning Dratinies. However, all in all, it was pretty similar wherever we went. To be fair, we did stay in CBD mostly, and intermittently we would get a spawn of like Ghastly or Eevee or something, so if anything, it's just something that needs tweaking. So next is our impressions on combat and CP. Now, as the player levels, the high end of the CP range increases, but the low end stays the same. The account we used was fairly high level, and we found we were catching a lot of low range common Pokemon and just discarding them. Something to note about CP also is that for the most part it kind of breaks battling. In gyms we never really had to worry about type effectiveness because the Pokemon we were using were too high level. Even a difference of a couple hundred CP meant that our not very effective attacks were still dealing huge damage. There are probably a lot of ways around this problem, scaling attack damage is one, or even just reducing the extremity of high CP damage in gym battling, but this is the closest thing we have to leveling a Pokemon, and that still is an important mechanic, so let me know what you think. On the subject, next up is gyms. So far I will say that gyms actually look pretty promising. The battle system, while different, is pretty fun. So far only quick attacks are really useful due to some minor bug and lag issues, which also sort of ruins dodging because player position isn't live, and with special attacks the same amount of damage can be dealt in the time it takes to use one just by quick attacking. Type effectivity does exist, but again it is vastly overwhelmed by CP value. The problem so far is that gyms aren't really worth defending. The concept is cool, but realistically it's a lot more efficient to gain XP from catching and evolving, and placing a Pokemon to defend a gym is a life sentence and you will not see it again. The only way out is death, so sinking high CP Pokemon into gyms is a pretty big waste of all that effort. Distribution of gyms so far is about 1 in 1,000 Ingress portals, which we found was just the right balance of distance travelled and gameplay gotten. Finally, I'm going to talk about item drops, catching, and evolutions. Pokestops occupy just about 20 to 30% of current Ingress portals and are really generous with their drops. On the subject of balls, our field tester quoted that he discarded much more regular Pokeballs than he'd actually used, and that they were essentially an unlimited resource. Higher tier balls did come in handy catching higher and mystery CP Pokemon, and while there isn't any wild battling, the throwing mechanic was actually pretty fun, though it did get a bit tedious throwing 20 or so balls at higher levels. On the subject of evolutions, the animation is impressive, and the CP gain can vary, making it a decent risk, but all in all, the amount of grinding required to get to that stage is immense. The amount of shards and ergo catches required grows exponentially per tier, which ends up in the hundreds for tier 3 evolutions. All in all, while the game does have its share of bugs, the features so far are good. They just need a lot of tweaking and balancing. Of course, things will get a lot more interesting with the addition of trading and potentially even battling, but there's a lot to improve on. If you have any questions or suggestions, let me know. Personally, I'd like to see some kind of Pokemon centers, so long as they'd be 1 per town sort of rarity and some kind of cost would be required. I just want to say that this video has been made entirely possible by Pokemontus, which is a pseudonym because he's a field tester, but however, we just want to thank him so much for giving us this opportunity and being so friendly and helpful explaining like mechanics and sharing stories with us. Our next order of business is getting hold of a shotgun mic or something similar so we can actually speak live and not overdub like this. Additionally, we did actually conduct an interview with our field tester, so that should be live very soon. In terms of analysis content, I want to start looking into nest frequency, and I've even been tipped off about some potential gym features which are looking really exciting. That's the episode, and I'll see you on our Pokemon Go journey.